You guys, you are welcome to chime in and let's just have a conversation about the topic today because it is really one of my favorite topics.
It is, and it's so exciting, and I love a topic like this because when we interact about it, you can hear the passion that we have for it as we're talking about it.
So we're going to talk about our Pawtism project, and actually Pawtism is something that we actually own, Pawtism.com. It is something that, we've been participating in for 14 years or more. I'm thinking around that time, and we just, our heart here at Smeraglia is to breed, raise, and train dogs that can really make a difference in people's lives in the realm of service dogs, therapy dogs, and also companion dogs. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing that pretty much ever since the beginning of time for what we're doing here. But the thing about it is that it is broken down into 3 different categories. And today our Pawtism dogs are more in the therapy category. But I know they have a lot of questions about sometimes like what is service, what is therapy, and what is companion. And we want to say that real quick. But before we do, let's say hello to everybody.
Guys, Linda Vath, one of our supporters, is with us.
Linda.
And she said, "Hi, I am so happy to be here for this topic. I'm planning on taking my Teddy to our children's hospital here in Baton Rouge and also go to an autism clinic and school."
Perfect.
I love that.
Perfect.
That is fabulous. And I love it. So, Carol, if you had to give them what's a service dog, what's a therapy dog, and what's a companion dog?
Okay, so companion dog is your pet who is a great dog, who's wonderful, who probably serves great emotional support needs, physical needs for you as an individual within your home.
Undercover therapy dogs.
There you go. So a therapy dog is going to work not for you, but for other people. So a therapy dog is going to be something that provides comfort, provides just a brightness to their day, but it's your dog that you're taking to benefit others. A service dog actually meets a medical need or negates a disability that someone has. So that one, you almost, by the way that the laws are and what the rules of service dogs are within, for federal government, the Disabilities Act. I forget what it's called all of a sudden, but
ADA.
Yes, the Americans with Disabilities Act. So by the letter of that, a dog is a piece of medical equipment. So it should be treated in the same way as like a wheelchair or an oxygen tank, something like that.
There's cannot prohibit a person from coming in with their wheelchair, their oxygen tank, or their crutches, or whatever they need.
And just like you wouldn't say to somebody, "Why are you in a wheelchair?" You wouldn't say to somebody, "Why do you have a service dog?"
That is a no.
You can ask, do you have a medical need for that wheelchair? You can ask, do you have a need for that service dog? But no one is required to disclose their private medical issues to you. That's not required. That's not something anybody should be put on the spot and asked to do.
So let's just jump right in real quick.
Real quick though, one more category that's not covered are facility dogs.
Oh, okay.
So facility dogs kind of fall in between the two. So they're not technically a therapy dog because it's not like your pet that you're going to do therapy at, like a women and children's hospital or a nursing home. But it's not a dog that's meeting an individual's medical need. A lot of times there are facility dogs that are specifically trained to meet the medical needs of a group. So where you can see facility dogs there are some schools that are currently using facility dogs as peanut alert dogs. So if you've got a number of children within a school with severe reactions to peanuts, they will actually
We have actually bred peanut alert dogs that are actively working right now in the field with some of our supporters and friends.
And we also, facility dogs also work with occupational therapists or speech therapists. And so they've been specifically trained to meet a medical need, but it's the need of the therapist using it as a tool within that clinic. So that's a facility dog. So that's kind of a subcategory that falls in between two.
That's when we went to New York and we delivered Lola to be a facility dog for a ladies' home, a woman's home, where women were there actually, have been through a lot, victims. And so the dog was there to be their dog. So that was everybody's service dog.
Correct. And that's exactly what the purpose of that
All
is.
the women's job. So we're going to kind of cut over to one of our days out with our Pawtism program, and Carol was there, and we're going to let them explain it. Then we'll be right back to talk with you about it. So ask all the questions when we come back. It's like a couple of minutes long. Okay.
Once a week we take dogs to visit these very special kids. The dogs bring out so much in the kids, the interaction, the motivation to work and learn, and it just puts a smile on everyone's face.
One of the benefits we see with the dogs coming into school is not just the impact of changing perception of our students, but even it just makes our students more acceptable as a whole.
It's really cool to see that these kids with autism that normally don't have a ton of emotion, the dogs come in, they just light up and they're like smiling and kissing the dogs and laughing and petting them, and you just kind of see the tension that they normally have just kind of melt away.
We have so many things going on in our lives every single day that we focus on and we look at and we get distracted by. Dogs only think about us. They only focus on us. When we visit the kids here at school, it's amazing the things that we see with the compassion and love that these dogs have for each and every child.
It's so special to watch. We're just so blessed to be able to have these dogs and their trainers, and such a unique way to reach out to these kids that have trouble expressing themselves.
I have seen 2 students. It was just amazing. I watched them sit there at a table, and like these students will escalate, like if they start making a noise or something, and the dogs literally calm them down. It's just wonderful to see.
I think what I see from our students when the puppies come is I watch them. They get to show a tenderness with the dogs that they might not feel comfortable just showing on their own, or even with other humans.
Mark Twain said it best, kindness is the language the deaf can hear and the blind can see. So remember to be kind just as your dog is, every day to everyone.
What a great project.
Yeah, and you know, it's so much fun to go in and just see the outcomes when you're working on a project like that and you're doing things. It was really cool too watching that, because that's a video that we did a while back, and so just remembering the dogs and a lot of those kids that
I know,
we
I
were
was like,
working
oh
with.
my God. She was like, oh my, that's Maggie, and there's Cowboy and Nemo, and we're like, oh, they've went on to do wonderful things in the world, but that's one of the main reasons we do what we do. I just love it.
So one of the things that's interesting, so kind of a side topic, so Nemo kind of ties into last week's topic where we were talking about congenital versus inherited.
Right.
So Nemo was named that because he had a bad fin, is what his name was. So he was actually born with a defect with his leg, and he was adopted by a school counselor who really struggled in an area with bullying, and we really deal a lot with bullying. So she adopted Nemo, and he worked in the school, and now he still works in a school system where it's a guidance counselor, and whenever she does the bullying talk, she brings out Nemo, and she works with elementary age kids, and she literally brings him out, she holds him where you can't see his gimpy fin, as they say, and says, hey, would anybody like to meet my dog? And of course everybody wants to meet him, and then she turns him around and shows that he has a special need, he has a disability, and then she says, well, what about now? Do you want to still meet him even though he's different? and then it's able to like bridge this
Wow,
topic in
that's
a really
awesome.
unique way. And so the way that dogs get used is just, it's just, it warms my heart. It just makes me feel so good about what we do.
Yeah.
It does me too. And you know, just seeing the dogs, like today when I just left, I was over at prep school with Charles, and we were, you know, hanging out with Junior, and he was like, oh my gosh, he could be, you know, anything, you know, maybe not a service dog, but he could be all of this because his size would keep him from that. And then we were with Phoebe, and she's going to be big, and he's like, she could be anything. And he was telling me how that he had wanted to match her with someone like in a wheelchair, somebody really special, that she has a real calling. And I was just like, y'all go watch the lives earlier, because both of those dogs really had something special about them, and they all do. Like every puppy, every dog has this special something about them. But today's were just extra special because I knew we were doing this and we were talking about it. And I just love seeing them when they're early, they're babies, they're just starting, and then they're going to go on and be life-changing to people.
Absolutely. And the thing too, so we match dogs from temperament assessments to people who have needs, but then we also have dogs that we hang on to because we know they have that higher calling.
Yeah.
And it's something where, you know, we don't just say, hey, we breed service and therapy dogs for the sake of saying it.
Yeah.
We mean it.
Right.
And we have those dogs stay here so that they can go on to serve that higher purpose. So when someone calls in and says, hey, I have a child that has diabetes and I'm really afraid at night, I need a diabetes alert dog, we have candidates that we can pull from.
Now, I will tell you this, Carol, I don't know what's going on this week, but Christy and I were talking. We have had an influx of people reaching out to us for service dogs, and they were very specific. Like, I need a deaf, like service dog for the deaf. I need a service dog for the blind. I need a psychiatric dog. I mean, right before I came in, somebody needed a cardiac dog. Okay, and I'm like, all right, this is really just confirming in my heart how the need for these dogs to go out into the world and make a difference. But I think that when they're calling, they're like wanting them now, and people don't realize what goes into training these dogs.
Well, and
it's a big deal.
It is, and we work with a little bit different philosophy. So some background, years ago when we very first started, we would train service dogs
all the way
through.
And there's a lot of you that have them.
And they do great. But we also recognized that what we do is puppies, and we do the foundation really, really well. And we also saw a need that wasn't being met in the industry that we felt like we could meet really, really well, and then hand off that next step to existing places. There's a lot of places that will train and finish out service dogs. There's nowhere that gets them started in the right way.
Right.
And one of the things that I talk to clients about a lot is, you know, dogs are this amazing thing, you know, that they can take someone who's quadriplegic and understand commands with eye movements. They can see millimeters of eye movement to get commands. They can learn things that you're not teaching them.
It's amazing.
It is so amazing. And when we try to train too much, we put a top on their capabilities. That's something we work really hard not to. We want to see what this dog can do. We also want to encourage them to learn and to be thinking, because one of the other things we know is, especially for service dogs with children, if you match a service dog with a child who's 5, well, a child who's 5 and that dog is 2 is going to be very different than this child who is now 7 and then 10 and the dog is only 5 years old, and then a child who's 15 and in adolescence. Their needs are going to change, and so this service dog needs to change with them as they go. And so
it's continued training.
It is continued
It
training.
really is.
And so for us, it's really important to do the first phase of training, which is appropriate socialization. It's teaching foundation behaviors without undermining future service behaviors. So like, we wouldn't teach a dog that's going to be a mobility dog to leave everything alone and never pick anything up, because that's going to make it...
They have to be able to use their mouth and be mouthy.
Yes, they have to. They've got to be able to retrieve and get stuff.
We're not going to teach leave it on that command.
Or a dog that's going to be some type of alert dog, we're not going to teach him he has to be quiet no matter what. We want him to be able to bark.
Or paw.
Or paw.
I mean, doing this, we might say nope, but then we need them to paw and do things like that. Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
So let's say I've got my puppy, my dog's gone through maybe 16 weeks with Smeraglia, and I know that I want to bring my puppy to a nursing home, my dog. What's the next steps? What do I need to prepare for? What are some even maybe pitfalls? That's kind of a two-part question.
So our goal here is to lay the best foundation we can to maximize that puppy's genetic potential.
Right.
Once you get that puppy home, your job is to continue doing that. So you're going to bond with that puppy. You are going to set them up for success and love them to pieces. And then you can connect with someone in your area. So first, if you're going to do like visits to nursing homes, you need to connect with the facility you want to go to, find out what their requirements are.
Right.
Some of them are going to require a certain company's certifications. Others are going to require a different one.
Okay.
So find out what their requirements are, and then connect with a trainer in your area that will work with you on getting that certification and meeting those requirements. Now, if your needs are for service work, it is not entirely ethical for trainers to work with dogs beyond what their physical and emotional readiness is.
Their threshold, yeah.
And so we wouldn't want to do a lot of weight bearing for a mobility dog on one that's not physically mature because their growth plates haven't closed, and it's just not healthy for them to do that.
Right.
So we recommend after we lay that initial foundation, that's what we call phase 1, which is our 16 weeks, to get them home, and you do phase 2, which is bond with your dog, get to know your dog, love on your dog. Keep socializing, keep working with that foundation. Don't
maintain what we've already taught them.
Yes.
Because the obedience has to be maintained.
It does. And absolutely the socialization has to be maintained, and you build a relationship. That relationship is that we talk about, putting that box, the lid on the box. That relationship is where you're going to see all of those things you can't train for come out of. And then connect with a trainer in your area that specializes in service training that's going to then work with you on customizing what your needs are with what your dog's capabilities are.
Awesome.
Yeah, but if you're wanting to just go and do work like we do, to the schools or to the nursing homes or places like that, I mean, it's a fun thing. It's like a game between you and your dog. You're just going out and making a difference in the world. But they just want to know that you're bringing a safe dog there. That this dog is not going to, bite somebody or be, disruptive, aggressive,
And
potty, pooping and peeing everywhere. I mean, they want to know.
Well, and you want your dog to want to enjoy the work. So even if your dog is safe to take an environment, if your dog isn't enjoying the work, then they don't need to do it. That's stressful for them, and that's not something you need to do. So.
And I love that. And we were talking about that a while ago, Charles and I. He was saying how that he had heard another trainer saying this week about, training a dog should be just two best friends having fun.
Yeah. It is.
And we love to lay the foundation. And if you watch our prep school videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays primarily, usually it's around 1:30. Sometimes we have to bump to Wednesday. But you'll see the puppies love, love, love training. They fall in love with training. It's a game. It's fun. They love it. And what we want to do is lay that foundation so that they will become the dog they need to be.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of, we talk about that first 16 weeks and maximizing that potential. You don't want a service dog who's going to work I got to go to work. It's Monday.
It's not work. This is fun.
This is fun. It's what they do. It's what they look forward to. That's what we want. That's our goal.
One.
Yeah.
I'm excited now. I'm I want one. Let's go.
But that's exactly it. That's what we're looking for and what we want. And so with the Pawtism Project, it's something that's a really unique relationship that we have locally that allows us to work with those dogs in environments you don't always get to be in. And so it's a win-win. The schools love it. The kids love it. They get lots of benefits from it. But our dogs love it.
We are actually going to have to really grow our program because so many schools need this program, and we are there's only so many of us, so many dogs, so many trainers, so we may have to take in volunteers and different people. For instance, my mom being a kindergarten teacher for 25 years, my mom's never been the big doggy person, but when she heard about the READ program and being a kindergarten teacher, teaching children how to read and how she knows that, you have different reading groups, but then there's those children that are terrified to read out loud and really stumble through it. But the read program, you literally take a dog and go over into a corner and get on a pillow, and the child can read to the dog.
Oh, I love
and
that.
just read, and the dog just listens and loves it. And
they gain confidence.
Yeah,
They gain
confidence and
confidence.
practice. And mom is like, no, you get me a dog that can go do that, and I will take that dog and do it, because that's her heart.
That
and
is.
Yeah.
she's never been the big dog person, but if she bonds with the like my dog London, like she would love it if London could go. Now London is not going to go, but I'm going to kind of try to find that perfect little dog that mom and her can bond, so she can go do things like this, because she wants
Well,
to
and
do
there's so much research that shows how great the READ program, and for anybody who wants to look up the READ program, because it is a national program,
Yes.
it's Reading Education Assistance Dogs. So the READ program, it shows that the kids don't feel judged by the dog. Some of the dogs can be and have been trained to literally stare at the seam of the book, so that they are engaged. And when
Oh
the
my
kids
gosh.
do pauses, the dog has been cued to look up at the kid to kind of like, okay, and like that to
Yes.
almost
Oh, my
encourage them
heart.
to
Isn't that
continue.
great? It's so great.
Oh, it's so pretty.
But with the Pawtism Project, this is a very specific, program that we have really launched here from Smeraglia. And the children, they do things that are unexpected. You can't prepare a dog for. So these dogs, I feel like they have to be like when they say a horse is bomb-proof, they pretty much have to be bomb-proof, meaning that there is nothing that this kid is going to throw out at them that they're going to react to. And you've seen that.
Oh yeah, we've seen that.
All
And in the
kind of
school,
things.
that's one of the things too with like the socialization of service dogs. So like if you have a child that needs a service dog, how do you get into a school for socialization as a rule? So
Right.
that's where this program comes in. Because have you been in a gym with 9 basketballs bouncing up and down and the volume?
Kids running and crazy.
It gets crazy.
And we've
Or-
taken a few in that they failed. We were like, no,
Nope.
they just, the dog literally stressed out, started physically showing reactions, getting upset stomach, drooling. And we're like, you know what? This is fine. This isn't for you, but you'll be a great emotional support dog for a person, but you don't need this, and we won't pass them.
Well, and then like being in and around a cafeteria, and then the obstacles you don't even think about.
Food everywhere, kids.
Food
yeah.
everywhere. But then the other one is bathrooms. That's the silliest thing you never think about with a service dog, because adult bathrooms, the toilets are really high. Elementary school bathrooms, the toilets are not very high, which means for any dog that walks by, it is down here.
It's a water bowl.
So they're like,
it's
oh,
a
that's
water
a
bowl."
water bowl as you're walking by, because it's so low. And so there's so many things like that you just have to think to work through.
Yeah, you got to work through everything. So let's show you guys another time. This is where we go every Thursday, this school. It's really fun, and we can talk about it. So let's just kind of go on over there. Oh, so this is a local elementary school.
Bell Forest Elementary School.
Yeah, and this is in Daphne, Alabama. And we are there every Thursday,
Every Thursday, unless it's pouring down rain.
right, or something.
And it's just because it's very difficult to keep the dogs super.
And that's my boy Elmo.
Yeah, there's Elmo. And so we have a couple of different dogs that we take. So we have dogs that are in training.
Available for adoption.
Available for adoption, or have been adopted and are being trained for
Right.
a client.
Right.
But we also have dogs like Elmo and a couple of others that are our dogs. They're going to always be our dogs. They're going to stay with us. But dogs that we only have for a period of time, like 8 weeks, there's only so much we can work with and teach them. But a dog like Elmo, who's going to be with us for years and years, he can always continue his training and learning to do more and more and more. So on this particular visit, we're working on a few different things with Elmo as far as his training. and
Elmo
learning.
is in training and the children are in training. So
Yes.
it's really cool to have them both trained together.
And so Elmo is learning about appropriate greetings. We're giving him a lot of freedom to learn how different kids have different needs. They also have different responses. And so this particular child struggles a lot with balance, but he also likes to get reactions out of the people.
Yeah.
And so you'll see him pick up the leash and then drop it so we can pick it back up and give it to him.
Yeah.
But he is also prone to pulling on hair a little bit because we respond.
And all of these dogs have to be able to have their hair pulled because it just is part of it. They can't snap and growl and bite. And
No.
They got to be able to be tolerant, and tolerance something that you look for at 7 weeks old in these puppies.
We do. And so with Elmo, you guys are going to notice, like right now walking, he's really paying attention to me. Well, one of the things we're going to work with him, so one of the benefits of the Pawtism Project and also Project Reach and outreach within these schools is we want to form a bridge between the specially abled children and the general education children. Because a lot of times there's gaps there where they're not sure how to approach or how to talk.
Yeah.
Well, a dog that looks like Elmo opens up that door
It
automatically.
does. And it just kind of just bridges the gap. They're bridges.
So as we started working with Elmo, you notice that he's working with a tandem leash. So I'm using one leash and a student is using the other leash. Well, that's a student that the instructions are, Elmo is your dog. No one coming up can ask me to pet Elmo. They have to ask you. If they're going to ask questions, you get to answer, you get to dictate. So now notice as the day progressed.
So you're actually working socially with the dog and the child.
Yes, and you're going to notice like Elmo at the beginning is looking at me. Then through that section just in the middle, he was looking both back and forth between me and the student. And then as the day progressed, he's now starting to respond more and more to the student.
I love that.
As opposed to me.
Love that.
But she was able to go to classroom. She's very shy. She doesn't talk a ton.
Okay.
But like we were able to knock on the door and she was able to say, do you guys want to see what I have?
Oh.
Do you want to visit?
Oh,
and then they were
okay.
able to ask her, hey, what is your dog's name? Can I pet your dog? And then you see all
her
those
face.
smiles. Yes.
Aw.
And so it just forms those different types of bridges. And a couple times throughout the day, she would ask, hey, is it okay if they pet my dog? And I was like, I don't know. He's your dog. What do you think?
I love that.
I love that.
And
That's
so
awesome.
lots of things that we can do with that. And so we just love seeing
And
that.
that's why he's got the name Elmo, because they all love Elmo. And like Carol was saying, it's easy for them. Some of them have verbal, issues with
some speech issues.
And it's Elmo's so, easy. And they all know who Elmo is.
They
and
do.
he's red. And they were singing and everything.
Yes, that song that I don't know if we've got the copyright clearance for us to sing, so we won't. But yes, the song that goes with the TV show.
Well, it is so wonderful. So, Dana, I don't know if there's any comments or questions.
We've
over
had
there.
a couple of comments.
Okay.
Suzanne just commented, beautiful. Patty Stanley says, such an awesome project.
Mm-hmm.
And she just says, love Elmo.
Yeah,
So,
Patty's
just a
actually had an
few-
opportunity to work with him, and so that's really great. And of course, I mean, it's a work in progress, And as the schools are now bragging about how it's helping their children, and they're really growing with this program, we have to launch it. So if you're interested in this in any way, we would love for you to reach out to us.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have some type of certification for our people to get out in the classrooms and
Absolutely.
things.
So one of the things too, like for Elmo, that's kind of cool with doodles. So one of the things we always talk about is, so why use a doodle? Why is a doodle the breed for this? So one is, the only reason you can ask a service dog not to be somewhere is if they are impairing the life of someone else.
Yeah.
And so somebody who has severe allergies, you can't force them to allow your service dog to be there if it's impairing their
That's right.
ability to live and function. Another big benefit to it is, especially when we're talking about kids, we don't want to create more barriers for them to overcome.
That's right.
And if you have a dog that's kind of scary and imposing looking, that does create a barrier.
Yeah, they're like big old fluffy teddy bears. You
They
can't
are.
look at a doodle and not smile. And just the word golden doodle, it makes them giggle.
It does.
My
It does.
kids, when I first told them that, we started with Goldens, and then I finally said, hey, we're going to have a litter of golden doodles. I'll never forget driving my car, and they're in the back, golden doodle. They almost thought it was a potty word or something,
Yes,
and they just
definitely.
laughed and giggled and thought it was funny. But he's a twoodle.
Yes.
And so Elmo is a twoodle, which is a combination of, it's a Smeraglia exclusive. You cannot get a twoodle anywhere in the world but right here on Smeraglia Farm. But it is a combination of our English Golden Doodle and our Teddy Bear Schnoodles. It is the best of the best that we have worked to create these beautiful lines for many, many, many years. And now it's the pairing of those two to produce a fabulous therapy, service, companion type of dog.
And they do really, really well overall.
Super smart.
Very smart, very easy to train, and even, very, very even no matter what's going on, which in a school environment is super, super important. The other thing with the doodles that we really like is for kids who are really working on how to use their hands, dexterity. So we take brushes with us so they can work on those larger motor skills. We take barrettes and bows.
And bags of bows so they can, and what's really cute is to see a dog, a doodle, come out fully bowed.
Yes.
Like 100 bows, 100 barrettes. And I know Tiffany, one of our supporters, does that with Macy Marie. And it is so cute because the bows are everywhere, and it makes you laugh to see that too.
It does. It does.
Okay, my dog's walking down the hall with 100 bows on.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? The dogs love it. They absolutely love the interaction. They love the work. And the thing is, again, if the dog doesn't love the work, we don't take them.
They're not going to go.
What their will. That's not what their God-given purpose is.
So if you are looking for a therapy dog, a companion dog, a service dog, you have come to the right place. We have the best dogs. We love our dogs. And whether it is a Goldendoodle, whether it is a Schnoodle or the Twoodle, we have them in all 3 breeds, and they come in 4 sizes per breed. Extra small, medium, and large.
And just about every color.
Every color. And so we have the variety here. So we can literally match you with the dog of your dreams. And these dogs that are fabulous working dogs are also wonderful pets. Wonderful pets. Dana, any other thoughts or comments?
Not any comments. I think I've certainly enjoyed learning about Pawtism Project, so I'm sure our viewers have as well.
Oh, yes. And you guys share this, tag it, send it to your school, share it with people, because we really want to get the word out. I mean, how incredible these dogs are and the life-changing ways that they can come into all facilities, and so many different ones: dental offices, legal offices, funeral homes, like we said, ladies, women's homes, so many different ways that they can make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. And we see it every time we go. Those were just a couple of examples, but every time, I don't care how many years we've done this, how many visits we've done, every time we see something new and amazing.
Well, so thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this very, very special program that's near and dear to our hearts. And don't forget to subscribe and click that subscribe button so that anytime that we come on, you can be aware of that. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you guys back next week.
Bye-bye.